Hello out there, everyone, in Chuck's Guitar Geekdom. This is my first attempt at one of these showing my face on talking demo videos, and if I'm awkward, I know I have a face for radio and a voice for silent pictures, so we'll see what happens here. If you couldn't tell by the title, or if you just randomly showed up on your playlist, whatever, I'm going to demo the VHT Redline 20 Reverb head. I got this for $69.99 shipped to my door, used, and for the price, this thing is amazing. You don't see too many of them. Mostly you see that they have a 1x8 combo as well, and the reviews on that are bad, but I guarantee that's because it's going through a subpar 8-inch stock speaker. But that's a story for another video. It's 2 channels, as I said, solid state. It's got a spring reverb. It's got 5 different distortion voicings, which I'll let you know my favorite as we get through it. And without further ado, let's get into this. I'm playing the Squier 51 Parts Caster Frankenstein guitar, stock bridge pickup, GFS Hot Telly neck pickup, PV neck, straight into the amp, going through a PV Scorpion speaker and kind of a homemade cab, mic'd with a Sennheiser E609. Let's see how it sounds. Once again, this is with all the controls at noon, very low volume. My 3-year-old daughter is sleeping upstairs, and let's try the drive channel. Now I'm over on the drive channel. It's got a button on the top you can push, but it also works with, I think, any 2-button foot switch. I have an old PV 2-button foot switch here that it works with. It'll both change the channels and the drive model characteristic it's going for. So here's the first one. It's the overdrive. Next is the distortion drive mode, a little heavier gain. And once again, I'm keeping all the EQ controls at noon and the gain control at noon. Next up is the metal gain characteristic, and this one's a little more heavy. It's got a weird mid EQ push that I actually kind of like, and this works pretty well with some EQing. I'll demonstrate that later, but for now, all EQs at noon and gain at noon. And next is what they call the red line EQ, and to me this is very reminiscent of the much accredited, acclaimed, and abysmal Line 6 Insane, for those of you who have had a budget amp in the last 10 years. And that's what this one reminds me of. Let's take a listen. That's the basic sounds, all EQs at noon. Now I'm going to go through and try to coax a few of my favorite tones I've found so far out of this thing. First I'm going to start with the overdrive. I'm going to go to the single coil, located over yonder here on my Git fiddle. So bear with me. for this setting on the overdrive, I find this amp actually does have a lot of low end all across the board. I pretty much keep that down to about 2 or 3 on the dial, and which to me allows this amp to really have a full sound to it as well, so it's not a bad thing. Just essentially start with it a quarter of the way up, and I always boost the mids and boost the gain and the treble as well on this setting. And I don't know if you can hear this, but this amp is kind of noisy. That is the downside to it. That is my first and main criticism of it, is even volume all the way down the guitar, it's pretty noisy. But I think that noise it only affects you at bedroom volumes here. I think the noise stays at this level even when you turn the volume up, so oh well. Now for another favorite tone of mine on this is actually surprisingly the metal setting, which I'm not really a metal player. I don't really go for metal tones, but this one just really cuts through a mix. Like the overdrive, I tend to boost the mids, cut the lows, and this one I turn the gain usually at 12 o'clock or below for where I like it. And this is a humbucker sound, so here goes the metal sound that I like. So now what I'm going to do is I have a Digitech Trio over here that will play a drum and bass part, and I'll just noodle around and change some settings and see what kind of different tones this thing can get.